Okay, you got your coffee? You all set with some coffee? Let's see if we can't... Oh, there's our airplane. Holy moly, that's a big airplane. Hey, look at that. It's an A380. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Dave. I do the spy flights over on Twitch. Every now and then I come over here to YouTube and do what I like to call a complete cold and dark flight. And let me tell you, over on VATSIM in the flight simulator world, the A380 is just all over the place right now. I think there's been some times that there's been double or triple the number of A380s in the simulator world that were ever built in the real world. So many people are enjoying this monster airplane, and it really is a pretty cool airplane too. So we're going to do a complete cold and dark flight. We're going to try and fly A380 gate and stuff. I don't know if this is actually an A380 route today, but we are at London Heathrow Airport, a very scenery intensive airport, so we can take a look at some of the performance things that are going on with the airplane. But this is a complete cold and dark flight. This is everything I've been able to learn so far about this particular airplane, and maybe it'll help you get your airplane off the ground too. It's not meant to be one of those, this is how you fly an actual A380, real world kind of a deal. This is what works for in the sim. Okay, and this is what I found that works for me. So hopefully with that little grain of salt, you'll be able to hop in your airplane and enjoy. So let's head on out to the airport. And hello again. And there is our A380. We're flying as a Lufthansa flight today. Lufty is one of those airlines that does have some A380s, Air France, British Airways. We're going to Munich. In today's flight today. So I think I've already gone and made one mistake, and that is the way that I've loaded the airplane into the airport. There are two stands here, and I think I should have been a little bit over here to the one to the left here, because the wing is kind of hanging over, and if I'd moved it just a little bit, then we wouldn't be blocking this gate here. And so I think I might have made that mistake as far as finding the proper parking for the airplane. And that's kind of a big deal, because if we were on VATSIM, they would expect us to put our A380s where the A380s belong. These things are so big, they actually kind of disrupt a couple of things in the real world. So let's see, let's go ahead and get our airplane ready to go. We are cold and dark. All the switches are off. I have done a complete flight plan over on SimBrief. It's already loaded in. One of the things I've also done is come over and inserted my user ID into SimBrief, so it's going to automatically load the plan for me, which is really quite nice. So we've got all that done, and there it is, Heathrow to Munich. There is our route. It looks pretty good. The cost index that we're getting out of this, I don't think 200 is what we get every day, so we may need to go and make a change for that too. Also, we do have the current weather. One of the things that I encourage with the cold and dark flights like this is for you to hop into your own plane and do the flight alongside mine, so that you can see the buttons I'm pushing and decide, hey, yeah, this is the way I want to make this work for my particular airplane. Okay, so we've got that. Let's come on over here to the next page, and you can see the OFP, Operational Flight Plan. We have lots of acronyms, and all we have over here is this is going to be also our fuel. This is going to give us our wind component, which is +1, P1, so +1, I think that stands for a tailwind. And we'll look at that in just a second. That's one of the new things. I do have my airplane in kilograms. So 335,000 kilos is how much we're going to weigh. Our fuel for today's flight is 32,000 kilos. And I did add just a little bit of extra like I always do. Okay, so there's our flight plan. Let's go to the little truck now. And the little truck is going to have us over here, and we're going to have 339 passengers today. But we're going to go to services, and I'm going to call the jet bridge, and I'm going to call a ground power unit. And outside we go. And if we kind of move around over here, you'll see that the jet bridge is coming out. And what's really cool is, depending upon how your airplane is parked and at which airport, it will go and get what we call the L2 door. This is a really neat thing, and that is most of the big airplanes, the wide bodies like this, I realize it's kind of hard to see this, but it goes for the second door from the front on the left side as opposed to up here. So that's kind of neat. Now, the other thing is about the A380s. They use 3 jetways to help to load these things, right? They use 2 below and 1 above. And so a Microsoft Flight Simulator can only handle 1 jetway. So we got that going on there. So we've called a jetway. We also have ground power. You could also, if you wanted to, you could open up your cargo doors. You don't need to do this. This is just a little bit of immersion fun. But if you come on over here, just give it a little bit of time, and eventually the cargo doors will open too. Now, we don't have the airplane powered up, so that's one of the things. And by the way, I don't know that you'd actually have the lights on with the cockpit cold and dark like this. So that's probably why we don't have cargo doors open. So let's go and power up the airplane. Here we are in the captain's seat. The pre-checks that you usually do, your throttles, are they all the way down? Yes, they are. Are the speed brakes up? Yep, speed brakes are up, down, flaps are up. And is the landing gear lever in its proper place? It certainly is. What about the parking brake? Parking brake is on. All right, got all those things done. And real-world pilots do that for real-world pilot reasons. Simulator pilots need to do that just to make sure that all of your buttons and switches in your sim cockpit are working. You might also go ahead and move your control stick around and hit those rudder pedals to make sure that those work too. Sometimes USBs disconnect, and you find out about that in the most uncomfortable time, like on a takeoff roll, which happened to me. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn on some batteries here. And let's see, we do have battery 1. So let's see if we can actually do this. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Sadly, these lights don't work yet. I don't know if it means that I did something wrong, but the lights don't seem to be working for batteries. Now we're going to come down here, and you do your, you see external power, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is up. I'm told what you do is to external 2, external 3, external 1, and then external 4. That kind of spreads the load out just a little bit as you're powering this big bird up. So we got those taken care of as well. And you can see we've got some nice backlighting up here. There are places that we can go to set the backlighting, and we'll look at that in a minute. Right now, we do need to do nav lights. Let people on the ground know that there's some idiot up front punching buttons and stuff, right? We're also going to come over here. Little hard to see, so we'll zoom down here and kind of tilt up just a little bit. Okay, no mobile phones. So no mobile phones is no smoking now. So we're going to leave that off, but we are going to do external lighting. We're going to get those on. We don't need storm lights. We don't need to do the annunciator light test, and we're going to leave seat belts off for the moment because we have to refuel the airplane. Where is the backlighting that you would adjust everything? All your lighting stuff, most of it is going to be right down here. So integrated lighting, maybe we'll turn this down just a little bit, turn the pedestal down, turn the ambient light. That's the light in the cockpit, the main lights. So we're going to turn that down just a little bit too. That's a little bit easier to see. A little bit easier on the eyes. Now then, there's another set of light controls though, and they're under here. And I think it's this guy over here, and this is what's going to turn on the backlighting on the autopilot here. So you got to turn that up if you would like to have this panel backlit. That's the lights that are under the panel. Makes it easier to read the text and stuff. And everything's looking good. Let's get to work on our fuel. We're going to start over here with fuel. And the flight plan that we got, and I'm using the Lido style of flight plan that we get out of SimBrief, says that I need 32,000 kilos of fuel. So it says 32.1. So if I was on VATSIM, I might want to add a little bit more fuel, but this should be pretty good for this flight. Okay, so you can do instant, fast, and real time. If you're going to hit real time when it comes to this big bird, be ready to be sitting on the ground and waiting for a while, okay? So here we go. We're going to go, and I'm going to start, and we're going to get the refueling going right now. Over here on the payload page, we're going to board 339 passengers, but before that, I'm told that one of the things that Airbus suggests with this airplane is even in the European Union, where they're a little more conscious about pollution, noise and fuel consumption of APUs. They say to turn on the APU and get it going and have the airplane start the ventilation system. Now, I guess if you've got an air conditioning system that you can plug in from the ground side, you could do that, but we don't have that here. So we're going to go ahead and start up the APU. If you look down here, you can see the APU is starting. The flight management computers in this are absolutely amazing. I don't know if this is the proper term. I call it the third generation of Airbus flight management. The first generation's the A300s and stuff. The second is the A319, 2021s, the A330s. And this is what I'm calling fourth generation. So the A380s and the A350s. And the FMC is really amazing. Okay, we do have the APU up and running. So we're going to come up here and we're going to get the APU bleed turned on. And that's going to go ahead and start to get the airplane ventilated for us just a little bit. While that's going on, we're going to come down here and start doing our flight management system. Oh, and you could also see it shows our L2 door is open and our two big cargo doors are open too. Oh, look at that. The cargo doors are open. How about that? Now we could load the cargo. You can hear the APU is screaming at the back of the airplane there. So that's good too. All right, let's go ahead and get started with this. So over here on the flight management computer, you can see my view is kind of set up where I have this little these buttons down here below. There are several ways that you can control this, and I like using the little buttons below the APU to go to the pages that I need quickly. And so right now we're on the main page right here. This is the main aircraft status. We're an A380 with Trent 972 engines. Means they're really big. And we've also got an active database. So our nav data is up to date too. Now we're going to go to the init page. And here is our init page. If you've gone and connected your SimBrief account and your Navigraph charts and everything, that's going to go and get a whole bunch of stuff. So we're going to do a company flight plan request here. And then says down here, uplink insert is in progress. So we got that going on right now. And while that's going on, let's come on up here. And we're going to come up here and we're going to do 8 ears. 1, 2, 3. Our IR navigation stuff is set. While that's going on, we're going to come over here. I'm going to hit the test button. And there's the test button for engine 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's also the APU. If you hold the button down and look down here, you're going to be able to see the ECAM notifications. You can also see fire indications on your engine start switches and everything. So you can go and do that, and then when you release it, it becomes quiet. So that's really kind of a cool thing you can do too. Once I get the the navigation system aligning, I come over here to cruise supply of oxygen and I turn that on. That's my indicator that I've gone and done that. Now we've received our company flight plan, and let's zoom in because this is actually really well, this is pretty cool. So click received and now you can insert it. And there we go. We've got EGLL to EDDM, and EDDF is my alternate. I'm going to check my cruise altitude, flight level 370. My cost index is 200. Okay, trip wind. This is kind of a cool little thing that I've just started to learn a bit about. If you look over here, the average wind component says P001. And I don't think it has anything to do with the 00 section of the British Secret Service. I think that that means we have plus 001 is our average winds. And that means to me, and I might have this backwards, that means we have a 1 knot tailwind. So T001, and that is our wind component, and it says tailwind. I might have that backwards. Okay, I haven't had enough coffee yet today. So I'm going to go and pop that in. Now that we've done that, let's hit the IRS page. And the IRS page says our IRSs are in alignment, and it will take less than 7 minutes for our alignment. At this point in time, the way things go with this airplane, I've got my boarding time set to fast, and I'm going to go and hit the 2 little arrows here. And what that's going to do is take my passengers, my cargo, the 0 fuel weight, and it's going to start loading the plane. Passengers are walking down the jetway, okay? So now with that going, we'll come down here and start doing some more FMC stuff. Now we're going to go to return, and we're going to do our departure. By now, if we were on VATSIM and stuff, we've read the ATIS, we got our clearance, but we're just kind of flying ourselves today. And when I did my flight plan, it said our departure is going to be on 09 right. So 09 right is our departure. Then our SID is going to come up, and our SID today is the, let's see, it's the DEET. Which one's this? This is Dietling. Did I say that right? It's the Dietling 9 Romeo. So Dietling 9 Romeo? No, it's the one Juliet. I'm reading the wrong one. So that's this runway out here. That means our climb clearance is 6,000 feet. So we're going to go and get the Dietling 1 Juliet departure, DEET 1J. I don't think we're going to get a transition on this one because it just ends. And again, I might be mispronouncing it, Dietling. So at that point, we're going to hit temporary flight plan. And then you can go through and check your waypoints as you go out. I'm just going to go ahead. I know it's right. I'm going to go ahead and insert that now. And it also has our altitudes here. Obviously, flight level 6,000 feet. That's going to be our don't exceed that altitude until ATC tells you to over the UK, or else the UK controllers on VATSIM have very, very great ways of making you feel about this tall because you busted the altitude. So take it from me, don't do that. All right, so we're going to kind of keep coming on down here. This is the flight plan. It's loaded. Now, the real-world pilots are going to check everything, every last one of these. Now, we're going to come out here at ROKIL. So let's go and do our arrival. Right now at Munich today, they are landing over on 08 left. And SimBrief gave me the ROKIL 1 Alpha arrival. The thing is, the controllers there don't really use that very much. What they do is you will use the ROKIL transition instead. So we're not going to do the star, but we will plug in the ROKIL 08 transition. And so it's ROK 08 is the transition for our runway at 8 left. Okay, let's give it a shot here. So runway is 8 left. 08 left, right? Is that it? Yep, 8 left. Okay, our approach is going to be the ILS for 8 left. Via, this is where we're going to get that ROK 8. Do we have ROK 8? There we go. ROK 08. Star, we're not going to do a star. None. And we'll leave it at that. And that's how we're going to do our arrival into Munich there. Temporary flight plan. Real pilots are going to check every one of those waypoints. They're also going to check the altitudes and everything. We'll do that another day. And there's our flight plan all set. Let's come on over here and see how loading's going. All right. We have, it's done. Passengers are aboard. Fuel is done. Fuel's aboard. Cool. Okay, so let's come on down here and we're going to go and hit the init page next. This takes us back to the init. We've done the departure. If we have any special nav aids that we want to put in for missed approach or anything, we do that there. Fuel and load. Okay, our 0 fuel weight today is going to be over here on the payload page, and our 0 fuel weight is 335,263. So 335.3, I guess, is the roundup. So 335.3. I'm typing it in with the keyboard. Be sure you hit enter. And if it's a correct number, there you go. It'll put it in. You could also use the keyboards in the airplane if you'd like to. Our center of gravity is 35.39. Let's call it 35.4. 35.4. Enter. Okay, now our block fuel, that's going to be over here on the fuel page. And the fuel page says 32.1. So let's go put in 32.1. And that's good too. And all that looks good. You could fill out just a few more things if you want. You could do your taxi fuel. You're going to find that on the flight plan. And if you look down here, there is taxi fuel, 1.74. So how about 1.8 for taxi fuel? So 1.8, did I do that right, I hope? Okay, what do we get for alternate fuel? That's to Frankfurt. Let's call it 8.1. Alternate is going to be 8.1. I've been reading, you really are supposed to round up just a little bit. And final reserve is 4.638. It says 4.7. I'm just going to go 4.7. And that popped up the console because I'm not very good at typing. Okay, so this looks good. The last thing we could do is check our minimum fuel at the destination. And that's going to be FinRes and alternate 12.6. This says 12.8. I'll go with that. Not so bad. Okay, so there's our weights and everything. That looks pretty good. Takeoff weight is 335.3 plus 32.1. I'm not really finding the takeoff weight is being shown, so I'm going to use Mr. Calculator here and go 335.3 plus 32.1 equals minus taxi 1.8. That means my takeoff weight is going to be about 365.6. Now we'll go over here and let's return, and we'll do takeoff performance. Now, takeoff performance, the airplane doesn't have that. But if you use SimBrief, we've got a performance calculator, and it seems to be pretty good. I'm also looking at Avia Planner right now. It looks pretty good. I really like the Lido style of charts. Hopefully they make it just a little better so we can stack up charts. EGLL, we are departing off of runway 9 right. Feet, kilograms, and that takeoff weight is 365.6. 365.526. Close enough. I think that's perfect. But by having this just over in the calculator, I could check it. Okay, so I'm going to move that over to the other screen and get rid of that. It's going to be a flex. Flap setting is optimum. Bleeds are auto. Anti-ice is auto. Wind, let's go get the latest weather. And the latest weather is winds are 090 at 7, 12 degrees. The altimeter is 3032. So I'm going to go and 3032. Up, that's inches. I was going to say, there's something wrong there. 1027. Aha, that's correct. Okay, let's go ahead and calculate. And here is our takeoff performance, which you can copy into the message, copy into text, and you could also take it over here and put it in your notes. These are my notes here. And by the way, if you'd like the style, my little text notes, look in the description below. You can copy and paste that into your own notepad and it'll work. So we'll copy it and paste it. And look at that. There it is. All of those notes are in there, and it even looks good too. How about that? That is awesome. So now we can go, and we are done with this page. We can move the web browser over to the other monitor, and then we can plug in our data. So we're going to do a flex takeoff. Let's see, our flex temperature is going to be 66 degrees. It seems to be frozen at 66 with this airplane right now. I don't know what else to say. All right, 141, enter. VR is 143, enter. Gotta click it, 143 and enter. And V2 is 148, hit enter. Let's see, the trim for takeoff is going to be 37.0. So 37% there. I believe, I might be doing that wrong. Transition here in the UK is 6,000 feet, and all is right with the world. Okay, so with that, we can come in here and let's put in a few more things. First of all, the altimeter is 1027. 1027. This will also change the first officer for you, so you don't have to bother with that. But if you want to be like real pilots, you ought to be a good pilot and come down and put 1027 in your backup altimeter. Okay, 1027. We're going to be good pilots about that. Next, we're going to come over here and we're going to set the Initial cruise altitude, which initial climb altitude, which in the UK is 6,000 feet. I'm going to turn on my flight directors, and that's going to go ahead and wipe out the heading. You could also press the top of speed, and that's going to turn that on to manage 2. And all is right with the world there. Let's go down here and hit SURV for surveillance. And we're going to take our transponder and put it into auto mode, and we'll just squawk 2000. And because we're going to be at the gate, we're going to be pushing back soon. I'm going to go and squawk TA, so that way we get on VATSIM's radar. We're not on VATSIM, but there you go. Services. Okay, the jet bridge has been pulled away. We still have a cargo door that is open, and we also have this door that's open. Sometimes the jet bridge will pull away from you, but it will leave your main door open. So there goes the cargo doors, but oh wow, the jet bridge is still in place, but it doesn't show it. So I'm going to hit the jet bridge button here, and the jet bridge should pull away, and let's make sure it closes the door. Sometimes the door doesn't close. And the door closed. Cool. So our doors are closed. The jet bridge is going bye-bye. But sometimes this thing stays lit, so I don't know what to do about that. We do have the APU on, so we're going to disconnect ground power, and I'm going to kind of do it backwards from the other way. We've also got a myriad of fuel pumps here. Start with your main and standby, and then the mid and outer tanks. Feed tank 2, main and standby, forward and aft. Feed tank 3. And feed tank 4. Don't forget your your trim tanks, and all is right with the world there. Okay, let's come down here. I'm going to go back to my performance page, and everything's looking good here. And see, it still shows the jet bridge as in place. So I'm just going to go and cycle that, and now it's going to go call the jet bridge again. I'm going to get pushback helper, and let me just call the tug, and that should get rid of the jet bridge. That gets a little tangled up a little bit, so that's a fast way to get rid of your jet bridge. Now, you don't even have to have the jet bridge on if you don't want to. So, you know, you can still load the airplane without opening doors. But I do like to use pushback helper. It is a great way to get your pushback done. So let's see, the passengers are aboard. So let's come on over here, and we're going to go seatbelts to on. I'm going to do mobile phones to auto. We're getting ready for pushback. I'm going to get my beacon going, so that's good. This would also be a time where you would hit the all call. Let the cabin crew know that you're going to start moving your airplane about. But in this case, we're not going to be able to do that because that button isn't modeled yet. I'm going to turn on constraints and airports and traffic now and get that ready to go. And I think it's almost time to go. This airplane has an incredible checklist system. I suggest you use it. You start over here. There's checklists, and there's the check marks there. It is a little bit awkward as far as seeing the checklists up here and pushing the buttons here. It's great for the pilots, but in the sim world, it's a little bit weird. So I'm not going to use that today, but it is a good one, and I'm going to try and start using it more and more. Another safety tip: if you're on VATSIM, come down to your radio, be sure and turn that little button on for the VHF. Otherwise, you're not going to hear, and you're not going to be able to talk or anything. Okay, passengers are in their seats. We've got the beacon on, the nav lights are on. We've pulled our chocks and everything. The airplane is clear. So let's come on down here and parking brake off. And out we go. There goes our extremely big airplane. I believe that as of the time this video is being made, the pushback truck with GSX has started to work pretty good. So that's really nice. And as we continue our push, I'm going to wait just another few seconds here. And if I go and hit right at about the right time, that's good for us. Sometimes it turns it a little bit too fast. But we got our fuel pumps on. Let's go ahead and start engine 1 and engine 2. You could start those two together apparently. maybe a little bit straight, and just go over here to the right side. Now we should be relatively close. And engine number 1 and 2 are apparently starting together. As we start to get on the taxi line, I'm going to straighten out the nose wheel and stop. And that looks good. Let's go ahead and do parking brakes on. I'm using the Thrustmaster TCA Airbus Captain's Pack for throttles and other controls. I'm using the wind wing side stick now, and I'm really enjoying the wind wing. Let's release the tug. As soon as I see the tug driving away, I'll go ahead and turn on that. You know what I forgot to do? Oh, terribly embarrassing. I forgot to turn the starter on to ignition. Whoopsie. Airplane's going to be upset with me. Once you get that on, that'll take care of that for you. One of the things is if you are using Navigraph, you can come over here on your map mode and dial this down from 10 to zoom. So you see there's 10 and zoom. After you hit zoom, it keeps going down. So just zoom in, and it says wait for a second. So we'll wait for a second as we get a good start on engine number 1 and engine number 2. Now that somebody went and remembered to turn on his starter. And I think we've got good starts on that engine. Shall we start 2 more engines? 3 and 4. At least I got the starter valve up. Oh, look at this. Now we got a little airport map here. Now just keep zooming that down, dialing this down, dialing it down, dialing it down. And if you look over here, you can start to move your map over to where you are. And if that's too tight, you can slide over here and move it up. And so you've got a cool little map in here if you want to use it. It's a little bit small on my monitor, so I don't use that very much. And so I'll usually take it out and put it on 10 miles. Okay, looks like we got engines, N2 and 3. Fuel flow is going on. The starter, this is a little bit low. I think that's because I forgot to turn on my starter switch, so I'm going to cycle that switch here in just a second after I get a good start on this engine, and that should open that, and it should be good. Alright, so cycle the switch up here if you forget. Normal and ignition. Try it again. Normal. Okay, let's hit engines and see, did that fix that? It apparently has. Okay, let's turn off engines. We've got our engine started here, so that's good. Let's go and do APU bleed and APU off. Okay, let's do control configuration. So there goes, let's come on down here, and there goes elevator, and that looks good. Ailerons, that looks good. Rudders look good. And then set your trim, and that's going to be over here. And you see it says 12.7. Now the real airplane, I think the real airplane sets it automatically, but you have to set it yourself in the sim. So I'm doing nose up trim here. It says 41, 42, and up. We're going to 37. Actually, it's going down to 37. 40, 39, 39. Ah, see, it's turned green, so now we're at least in the zone, but we'll fine-tune it to exactly 37.0. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, up, 0. 37. Trim is now set, and so that looks good too. Okay, I think it's time to go. Let's go the runway. So over here, I would usually, before I start taxiing, I'm going to ring a bell for the flight attendants. Can't hear it, no big deal. Taxi light on, but I usually will go and hit the all call button and say, hey, flight attendants, we're getting ready to taxi out. Parking brakes are going off. And let's add just a little bit of throttle to get going. My throttles don't seem to be configured well with this airplane. And I've got two settings for this. Either rip-roaringly fast taxi or, you know, slow as a snail. I haven't found the middle ground there. Okay, over here on this, our flaps are going to be set to 1. So flaps 1. There goes flaps 1. Speed brakes are armed. You can kind of come back here and look at your flaps going out. Not much for flaps 1, but you can see the leading edge slats are rolling out here. A very, very long wing. One of the things is if you're going to be flying around on VATSIM, you've got to start worrying about A380 parking gates and taxi routes. So one of the things here is my chart stack here has parking stands and taxi routes for the A380. I was looking over through the charts for Munich, and I didn't see any there, which leads me to believe that the whole airport is, I guess, okay, or I just didn't find anything. So we got that going on. Okay, what's our ground speed here? We are taxiing now 13 knots. We got a couple of 90-degree turns. Just look over there. Is anybody coming? Nope, that's good. And so we'll come over here. And this taxi line is green, so we can do this one. And there we go. About 10 knots, of course, for a 90-degree turn on a taxiway. After you start, you might have to kick your throttles up just a little bit. Otherwise, it just sort of stops. And so I think that setting your sensitivities for this airplane is important, and I'm still working on mine. You see, I overturned a little bit there. So I think I have not enough sensitivity or too much. I'm not sure which. Okay, nobody's probably coming out over there. I don't see any. Nobody's over here, so let's keep going. Might need to add a little bit of thrust to get around this turn as well. But not too much. And we're looking pretty good here. Now, I'm not sure. This, I don't think... Yeah, I think this is still A380 capable. But yeah, if you're going to be flying on VATSIM, you really have to have your A380 charts set up. You have to know exactly where it is that you're going to be going, you know, where you can go and what your gates are. VATSIM has said, hey, we love the A380, but you got to know what you're doing with this airplane. And it's incredibly popular right now. Okay, here is our hold short point. And we'll stop here just a little bit. And parking brakes can go on. Parking brakes are on. How's our ECAM checklist? Oh, auto brakes. We forgot that. So over here, you've got your normal auto brakes dial here, but you actually hit the RTO button. Rejected takeoff arm is what you'll do there. And then the last thing is the takeoff config. Takeoff config switch, we'll press it and look at it, and our ECAM checklist is all nice and green. We're ready to go. ATC has conveniently called and said line up and wait. So we'll go over here and do strobes to on. I know you could also just leave them on auto. I guess to flip switches and stuff and have a little more positive control. I don't know, that's probably not the right way to do that. I'm going to come over here and we'll start using this to track just to have the flight plan up. And we're slowly coming around here. I should have been a good pilot and had the co-pilot look out the window, make sure nobody was on final approach. It has been known to happen. And as a way we come around here, throttles at idle. We are doing a nice sunset departure here. Should be getting kind of dark by the time we get into Munich. And there we go. I'm slowly figuring out how to taxi this big thing. And we're thrust idle. And there we go. I'm starting to try and put my center line in between the two, the primary flight display and the navigation display. And let's see how we're doing. Not so bad. as far as being lined up down the center. Okay, getting better at that. Landing lights going on. ATC says, get off my runway. Let's get going. Just like any old Airbus, I usually run my throttles up about halfway. And I look there and see, do I have all 4 engines up and stable? I do. Start the clock and manual flex. SRS and runway is set. Auto thrust is blue. Just like the A319, 20, and 21. Pretty cool. Airspeed's looking good. What I really wish developers would do, though, is include airspeed callouts. I'd love to have 80 knots, 100 knots, V1, and rotate. Landing gear isn't necessary, but having those, that way I can concentrate on looking down the runway. There's rotate, and up, and away. There goes our big airplane. And landing gear going up. Here goes all of our wheels. Lots of wheels on this airplane. And looking good. We could climb a little bit faster. There we are. That looks good. Keep the flight director centered as best you can. We're about ready to make a right turn. And there's lever climb, thrust climb. Nose down a little bit, and it's commanding our right turn now. There's the letter S, so flaps can go up. Flaps up. And if you're a busy pilot, don't be afraid on VATSIM to come over here and hit the autopilot. Not afraid to use the autopilot with something complex like this, especially if I'm in VATSIM and it's busy. No shame whatsoever. Okay, this is all looking pretty good. Flaps are up. Speed brakes are disarmed. And we're continuing our climb. No higher than 6,000 feet in the UK. This thing has automatically come over and it's set us to climb mode. So we'll come over to this side and we'll go ahead and do flight plan. And out we go there. Looking good. And there's 6,000 feet. We're going to be good pilots and not bust the altitude, because I've already done it a few times and don't want to get in trouble. I like to keep the Navigraph charts all set up over here so that I've got an extra flight tracker outside my airplane, especially with new airplanes. And out we go here. So between 3,000 and 6,000 feet at D29 and 6,000 feet all the way to Dietling. I hope that's pronounced right, but I have no illusions. Let's go ahead and make the map a little bit bigger now. Up, altimeter. Standard. And standard. And we should have hit that before we hit 6,000 feet. So we may have to do just an open climb to 6,000 feet. And that way it'll stop howling at us. All right, that looks really good. Let's make the map a little bit bigger. After Dietling, we have got DVR. ATC is being incredibly generous today, and it is going to let us do a direct to. Constraints from previous position to DVR. Direct to, and engage that. Now we're direct there, and ATC says climb to your final cruising altitude, flight level 370. So we are direct to that. Let's come over here. That's 8,000. Uh-oh, I think I've got a freeze. So one of the reasons I think I'm getting a freeze is we're over London, and London is insanely busy. Let's see if the airplane actually is going to go. Okay, there we go. And we can continue our climb, and let's go managed. So it was loading in scenery, and that's something to do. I found just be patient. And if you're patient, it usually goes, but after about 2 minutes or so, if it doesn't, you're on VATSIM, I'd probably disconnect at that point because I probably have a permanent freeze. And so now we have our direct to and our climb, and out we go. And our very big airplane is on its way to Munich, a beautiful sunset departure too. How about that? And that looks really pretty good. Gear is up, flaps are up, speed brakes are off, and direct to DVR. Now, if you're looking for a progress, I think that the best progress that I've found so far is right here at the bottom of the flight plan. And it shows that we are 568 miles away from Munich. And it says 1742. And if you look up here, it's 1621. And I think this is telling us we're going to be landing at 1742 Zulu or thereabouts. So there's your progress page on that one. And I'm flying real weather and real time right now. And we'll go ahead and make the map one click bigger. I'm done with constraints for now because we're out of the departure. And direct to the DVR, where passengers back in the cabin are probably DVRing their favorite movies. Yes, the airplane does have a cabin, which is unusual. You know, the other fly-by-wire airplane doesn't. But you can open your door, and you got a cute little stairway right here, so you can go down the stairs. And there's another stairway up there. And this, I believe, is sort of like a business class with first class upstairs. Yes, you can go and you can set wing views with the airplane. They don't have a force field around the cockpit. There is not a flushing lavatory on this airplane as there are on some others. But you can walk all the way to the back. You can walk upstairs. I don't think that you can see a hot tub or anything like that, or the shower. Yep, the airplane has a shower for first class passengers, and we're starting to get into steerage. That's what they called economy class on the Titanic. Okay, so we come over here. Now, if you're having frame rate problems, if you click the little latch, that'll close the door. If you've got frame rate problems, there is this tab up here. And if you click this, this will remove your cabin. So all of the stuff that's modeled back behind you, if you don't care and you're having frame rates, click that and that will remove the cabin. I don't know how much it'll remove the cabin, but pretty much. We are past 21,000 feet. I should have turned off my landing lights and my nose lights a long time ago. We'll come on over here and we'll do no mobile phones. So that's on, but now we'll just go ahead and do seatbelts to auto. As far as cabin temperature, you can see over here the cabin is Purser Select. So the cabin crew gets to select the temperature of the cabin. Cockpit temperature, you can change that if you want. And if you want to see what it is, I believe we go to pressure. And that should show temperatures, right? No, that doesn't. Avionics, feet. The cabin's climbing, that's good news. Maybe it's conditioning, air conditioning. That's going to be it, right? And it shows it's 20 degrees up in the cockpit. It's 23 degrees in the cabin. Passengers are happy, I hope. And we'll go out there. We can also run through the ECAM. We can check the electrics. We can check fuel, everything. We can look at that. So all the normal things that you would check, and the real world pilots, they're going to check those things at least every 30 minutes, or basically when whenever they go over a waypoint. For example, one of the things that I like to do on Cross the Pond is as we're climbing on out here, I will choose a waypoint like KONAN over there and come over to the flight plan And so at KONAN, we should have, according to the flight plan, there's KONAN right there. So KONAN says our clock, we should be 14 minutes into the flight, and we should have 23.6 kilos of fuel. So how far away are we from KONAN? We are still going to DVR. There's KONAN. So we got about 40 miles before we'll do a time and fuel check. We should also be at our final cruising altitude as well. Nice view outside the wing. This is a upper deck here. And so what we're here, we're upper deck behind the wing, so super duper first class. And if you look down there, you can see that the first class seat looks pretty good. This is the lay flat thing. So, and they actually modeled it pretty nice. They've got your remote control, they've got an iPad, they've got, you know, probably water and fruit juice and booze. So they've got all sorts of cool things that are modeled in the airplane. And I can only imagine, I would imagine before too long, we're going to start to see some of the scenery painter, livery painters. They're going to probably start customizing the cabins. So that's going to be really nice too. Coming up on 33,000 feet. And again, one of the things is this is simply what works for me in the sim. This is not the way the real pilots are going to do this. They're going to do a lot more checks than I do. This is what's going to get you out of the gate, up in the air, and hopefully on VATSIM without anybody yelling at you. This is all looking pretty nice. Munich, the altimeter is 1029. Wind is 180 at 2. Temperature is 5. The dew point is 4. That is incredibly nice. You can also go and pin charts in here. So you could also go and use this with Navigraph, which is incredibly nice. So if we go here in the IC cows for EDDM, Munich, and that is our 2 airport. Now all of a sudden we can go and grab our stars. So this one is going to be the ROKIL 1 Alpha, but we're not going to use that. What we're going to use is we're going to use the transition, and it's a ROKIL transition. Where is that? Betsauce. Was it a ROKIL? It's ROKIL 1L. Where is the ROKIL 1L in a transition? Maybe I missed it. Landu. Ah, here we go. ROKIL. That I believe is the stars, right? NAPSA. ROKIL 1 Alpha. ROKIL 08 is what we're looking for. Landu, here it is. Landu and ROKIL 18. So we can click it. And I'm going to also turn it to dark. And yep, there is our transition chart. So you can also hit the pin button, and that's going to pin the chart in. Then we can come and hit approach. We want runway 08 left, ILS. We can do that. We can hit the taxi chart and come on down here. And again, I was looking through to see if there was anything specific for the A380. Didn't find it yet, and I usually park at the east stands. And now if we go to pinned charts, there is our star, our approach, our taxi, and all of that looks really good. So now we can go and have that in there. And there is our taxi. I'm also going to change that to the darker side. It's easier for me to see. Yeah, I guess that's not going to work so well. But you can also use this. And again, I really like having that right there, especially for taxi at a strange airport. I'll still keep the application handy, and this is a great way to use this, but let's see how we are doing. Is it almost time to do our check? Oh yeah, we're 13 miles from KONAN. So let's see, we need to get ready to do our fuel check, and our fuel is going to be down here, and our fuel on board is 26.8, and up here the clock says we're at 14 minutes. So over here we've got 10 miles to KONAN. And I'm dying to try and figure out a way to do an Arnold Schwarzenegger joke here, but all I can think of is I'll be back, and that's not Conan the Barbarian, so the joke doesn't mean anything, but let's have fun anyway. Give ourselves a drum roll. Okay. If that kind of humor is your kind of humor, I hope you'll consider joining us over on the Spy Flight on Twitch. We fly every day, Tuesday through Sunday, 1900 Zulu, 757 Spy Flight. We have an incredibly cool group of pilots. There are real-world pilots that come in and join us all the time and help us understand exactly how it is that we fly the airplane to be more like the real world. It really is an incredibly fun place to be. I have fun with flight sim all the time anyway, so it's really a good time. So I hope you'll come and join us. Every flight is a group flight. They're either on VATSIM or multiplayer, and so you're welcome to come in and play along, even if you are new. The Spy Flight over on Twitch is a great place if you're new because we don't mind questions at all. Okay, 1 mile to go to KONAN. Can't even remember a line from that movie. It's been so long. Okay, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time check, 15 minutes. Fuel check, 26.6. The flight plan says 14 minutes, so a little late. This says 23.6, so I guess that means I've got 3,000 extra kilos of fuel, right? 3,000 and change, maybe 3.2. So we're ahead on fuel, a minute behind on time, and that's pretty good. Now the Lido style of chart here, it's got little blanks here. So 14 minutes, we would have, if we'd had a pencil, we would have written in 15 minutes there and 26.3 or whatever it was there. And that way you kind of keep track of your fuel, because that's one of the things that the pilots do while they're flying along is keep track of all the fuel and the time. You know, they keep their eye on the computer, right? All right, let's come on over here. And we're actually doing pretty good. If we go down here, you might be wondering, okay, where's your top of descent thing? So we come in here, and if we've got the full flight all set, we keep paging down. We got a lot of, there we go. Here is our top of descent. And our top of descent is going to be between Sarum and Burrum, and it should happen at 1720 Zulu or thereabouts. It is currently 1634. We got a little bit of flying to do. So this is the point in the cold and dark videos that I usually do, and that I will hit pause on the video. And what you could do is you could hit pause on your, player. And what we usually do is say, okay, when should we get back in touch? So if we look over here, I've got my map on a 60-mile range here. Oh, I'm on TA. How could I mess that up? Let's go to surveillance. And we need to go to Terra instead of just TA. Okay, TARA. All right, perfect. We're being better. We're being good pilots now. Behaving. So anyway, I'm on a 60-mile range, so it's actually 80 miles up here. I'm going to come over here, and it even says 80 miles. I'm going to go to the 160-mile range now. That's a little bit too cluttered on the map, right? Let's go back to 80. So there is going to be a, you are going to have a top of descent hockey stick. That's a little arrow that points down along your green flight path here. So if you're flying along with me, when your top of descent hockey stick appears at the top of your 80-mile range, between 80 and 60, that's when you're going to want to go and turn the, and hit play again, okay? In the meantime, we're just going to kind of fly along here. so we can look outside. I will probably also maybe change the time a little bit because it's going to get really dark. Uh-oh, chemtrails. So it's going to start getting a little bit on the dark side out there. But what we'll do is meet between 60 and 80 miles from top of descent, right back here. So I'm going to hit pause, you hit pause too, and we'll see you in just a second, or a little longer. And there we go. About halfway between 80 and 60, there is our top of descent hockey stick. And welcome back to the flight deck. I know it was probably just a few seconds for you if you're watching. Thank you for sticking along. Let's go ahead and start getting ready. The first thing we need to do is take a look at the arrivals. And the altimeter has not really changed. 1029, winds nothing at nothing. Temperatures 4, dew points 4. I think that our current arrival is pretty good. The only thing that I've done is I've added a couple of pinned charts for our arrival. That's really about all it is that I've done. I did go to look to see. One of the things that I like to do is I do like to go and draw range rings around the airport, and I don't know how we do that with this flight management computer. And so usually what I'll do is around the airport, I'll draw a 5, 10, and 25 mile circle around the airport, and usually with one of those I'll draw an extended center line down the runway, and that's really nice to do too. Got to figure out how to do that, so that's on the to-do list with this airplane. Top of descent hockey stick is coming on up pretty quick here, so let's go ahead and get ready for that. Basically, on the arrival, we're planning to do the ROKIL 8 arrival here, and as far as altitudes, it says 5,000 feet or lower. I'm guessing, looks like that's about it. Over on the arrival, what we were supposed to be at, below flight level 100 is really all we were supposed to be there. So I'm going to go ahead and let's call it 5,000 feet. Let's call this 5,000 feet and set that up. Now, I believe the real-world airplane will auto-descend. You know, like a Boeing, the airplane, you set up your flight management computer and it will start the descent. This airplane, I'm not sure. If you arm the arrival like you do in the A300s, you would click the bottom of that and that would arm the arrival. The descent, I mean. I don't know if that's the way we do that with this airplane or not. So I'm not going to mess with that now. That's another thing on the to-do list. One of the things that's fun to do, though, is use what's called the BTV system. And if you look over here on the auto brakes, it says BTV. And what this does is this gives you a really cool way to stop the airplane. So first of all, we're going to come over here and let's go to the airport here. And I'm going to go to this. We're expecting to land on 08 left. Why aren't we on the right side? Probably because we're coming in from the north. Okay. Well, let's just go ahead and stick with this. And we would like to be able to exit the runway at either Alpha 10 or Alpha 12. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here. And remember when we zoomed into the map on our departure, we're going to do the same thing. So there's 10 miles and now zoom. And let's go ahead. And at this point, there you see the two little up arrows. We're going to click that and we're going to select the airport. And we're going to select München, our arrival airport, and display the airport. We got to wait a little bit. It's going to go and download that from from Navigraph, I'm guessing. Okay, so we'll just chill and let it do its download thing. And over here, we're going to keep an eye on the descent too, although while we're doing this, we're not going to see it. So top of descent is down here. It should happen at 1719 Zulu. We got about 5 minutes to chill. So we're still waiting over here. Doom, 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 doom. All right, so now what I'm going to do is go over to the plan page, and there is our airport. Oh, that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead, and the next thing that we'll do is we're going to zoom in a touch more. So keep zooming this down. And we're all set, like I said. This is going to be For the runway, I don't think that we would use, but we're going to stick with the plan anyway. First, you have to select the runway. Now, keep an eye up here in the upper left part of the ND, and you see how when I put the little target over this, it changed the color. There's a little turquoise box around 6 left. Click it. Oh, look at that. It's got BTV. We've selected 8 left. It is 8 left, right? Is that what you gave me? ILS or localizer, 8 left. Yeah, it did. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move down the runway here. Move down the runway. And there's Alpha 10 and Alpha 12. See how when you click over Alpha 10 and Alpha 12? Let's try Alpha 10. And now it's got ROT. So now what this airplane's going to do is it's going to handle the braking automatically for us. I'm going to hit BTV now as my auto brakes, and all we've got to do is put the airplane down on the at the touchdown point, and it will brake us successfully to that exit. And that's the BTV system. It's really pretty cool. Still a little bit to learn about it, but having fun. Okay, let's go back to ARC mode, and we're going to come over here and we're going to zoom back out and get ready for the rest of our flight. All right, so here we all are here. We are 20 miles from top of descent. Now we need to go and start programming in the arrival. We'll wait till we start our descent, and we'll plug that in too. All right, so we're also going to start seeing a lot of little hesitations and stuff here. We're going to be loading in some nice airport scenery. And the best thing to do is when you've got that scenery load burp, burp, burp thing that goes on, just kind of go with it. As soon as you see it unfreeze, then you can start moving around. But you just have to be patient. And they are doing some sort of optimization on this airplane quite a bit anyway, so that's really good news. Coming up on 20 miles from top of descent, we could look over here, 1029. Winds nothing at nothing, 4 degrees Celsius, dew point 4 degrees Celsius. So all of our information is right there to plug in the arrival data. Everything's looking pretty good up here. The passengers have been behaving. No crazy parties back there. Strobes, beacon, nav is on. The logo light is not modeled in this airplane. The runway turnoff lights can land. And seatbelts are auto, devices are auto, so everything's pretty good up there. Fuel has been very, very nice for our arrival too. Coming up on 10 miles, and what we're going to do is just have a look and see as we get closer. We should get descent deviation. Let's move the map into the 20-mile range now, and there's 10 miles from descent. I usually like to hit the button if I'm going to do it manually, which I think we do here, at around 7 miles. 5 to 7 miles is when I'm going to hit the button over on the A319 2021. So coming up here, give it a little bit longer. There's probably 8. And there's 7. It jumped a little bit as it does, and that looks good. Let's come on over here and do manage descent. So top button, press, and that should be our descent. Okay, so we got 2 things. We got the little green dot over here on the altitude tape for our descent. That's our descent deviation. And then we've also got our, hang on. The voice is just giving out. Okay, so this is what I call the squiggly. It is not the appropriate term for this, but I call it that because it's funny online. This is the squiggly. That little green jagged line there is basically when we will intercept our optimum descent path. And so we'll just kind of let it do its thing, and I think the airplane's got us coming on in. Enter destination data. Look at that. Okay, so we'll clear that little and go to approach. So winds. Winds are nothing at nothing. So let's go and do click it. 0 enter, click it, 0 enter, and that's good. The outside air temperature is 4 degrees, but that's also the dew point. That means visibility might be a thing. So 4 degrees, And the altimeter is 1029. So QNH 1029 and enter. The next step is going to be our baro data. And for the ILS 8 left, our baro is 1667, 1,667 feet. So we're going to go ahead and do 1667, enter. That looks good. Transition altitude is going to be, so it's 5,000 feet going up. Usually if we don't have anything set by ATC, I add 1,000 feet to the transition altitude and call it 6. And the airplane has done it too. So all of that looks good too. So 6,000 feet there. Let's come on over here to the descent page and go back over on that. Over here, we do have a route discontinuity because as we're coming in on the approach we're expecting, and that's going to be the ROKIL 8 transition, we'll come in. There's our little airplane going to ROKIL, and we'll kind of come on around here. So what we'll do is we'll do a little bit of the racetrack here, and then we'll go ahead and get ready for our arrival here at Magat, or Bagan and Magat, I hope, I don't know. So as we're coming around here, we'll slowly descend to 5,000. We'll plan on doing a direct to a little bit beyond that, and that's 5,000 feet. So we should be really good to go on all of this. And I'll slowly start zooming this map in just a bit, and that's what I'm going to use for my ground stuff, you know, as my ground map. This one's nice to use too, but that one's just right over on the monitor and it's always there, so that's why I like that. All right, so far so good. Everything else looks good too. There is our turn at ROKIL. This airplane goes a little bit on the fast side. So I usually become a bit of a micromanager now, and I'm going to come over here and start managing my own speed. So our speed is over here, 285. I'm going to go and slow it to 280. Usually on VATSIM, when we're coming into a place as busy as Munich, we're going to usually get slow it down, speed it up. Up there is our arrival there. We're at 29,000 feet. We're going to have to bleed off a little bit of altitude here. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to make the map a touch bigger here. And that looks good. If we wanted to be good pilots, we go into surveillance and look below the airplane now. I'll go back over here to performance. And that looks really nice. And so far, so good. Usually by now, even if we're a little on the high side like we are, we might be instructed to start slowing it down to about 250 by ATC. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this down to 250. There's 250. And how about some speed brakes? Let's do a little bit of speed brake action here. Probably half at the moment. That's going to help us a little bit. If you forget your flap speeds, we do have a placard up here. So flaps are going to be, for flaps 1, 263, 222, 1 plus F, 220, and 196 are the general flap speeds there. So we're good there. There's 260 right now. There's 250, I mean. The airplane's still going to kind of coming around here. It usually gets a little bit twisted on this one. Probably because we came in at ROKIL way too fast. And in fact, at this point, my guess is ATC is going to say, hey, cowboy, slow down to about 210. You're coming in way too hot there. So let's come on over there and call it 210 on these turns. I was a little fast. There's 240. How about flaps 1? Flaps 1. As I'm zipping around the cockpit here, we're definitely starting to get some slowdowns. Oh, I rolled that flap out a little bit too fast. But it does have flap protection on this airplane. Okay, we're finally catching up with our descent profile here, which is really nice. Passengers looking out the window and saying, think we should start seeing an airport out there too. And now it's going to increase our rate of descent a bit too at this point. And that looks really good. And we're actually now on the path. So we're just going by the Mike non-directional beacon. We'll loop-de-loop around here. Try and get to 5,000 feet about there so we can go direct to. This airplane will automatically go and select your ILS. You can change it. I'm going to activate the approach right now because I've got control of my speeds. So I want to have that set because if I'm busy, I just want to be able to press the button as far as manage speed when it's landing time because I will be a busy camper. I'm going to go ahead and take control now of direction. LNAV is mine. We're at 25,000 feet. I'm going to go do seatbelts now to on. Seatbelts are on. And I'll just go ahead and do this. Usually on VATSIM during all of this time, this is about the time when we're going to go and we're going to get, we're going to be getting vectored anyway by now. So nothing really to prepare over here. The airplane's already done our weight and balance for landing, so that's nice too. Next heading will be 171 degrees. And so we'll do this at about 210. Airplane sometimes doesn't descend very fast, so we're going to go ahead and increase our rate of descent. We're on vertical speed right now. Since I've got the speed brakes out, we'll see if that speeds us up and slows us down. I'd like to get a little bit lower so that we can make the turn. Let's go ahead and go 171 degrees. Right turn to 171. You could get the Mobi flight application and put that in and use your WinWing Airbus autopilot control, flight control unit. I haven't done that yet, but I think that would be a nice thing to do. With this airplane, the autopilot is similar. I do use it extensively with the Phoenix A319, 20, and 21, and it's very nice. There is 171, and there's our turn there. Still a touch high, but that's okay. We got speed brakes out. We'll start to slow it down a little bit here when we continue on our next heading, which is supposed to be 261 degrees. So we'll continue around down here on the little racetrack. And we're descending at about 2,500 feet per minute, and it's holding our speed very nicely, so that's good. And that's about halfway. I'm going to continue my turn now to 261. And that should set us up pretty good. How about 251? I bet we're a little bit early on the turn. And that way we can adjust ourselves right into the perfect spot. This is probably a great time to do all the things that YouTubers do and say thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this a little bit helpful and fun. This is an amazing airplane. I think that fly-by-wire is probably got to be as surprised as the rest of the world of flight sim to say, holy moly, is everybody loving this airplane. So we know that they're going to be fixing some things. I know that there's going to be some advanced optimization done. And there's 261 degrees, so let's get right on our heading there. That's good. We do have a little bit of a crosswind, so I'm going to go to 266 degrees and see if that's enough to compensate for the wind on our turn. And we're at 17,000 feet. I'm going to go ahead and reduce our speed now to 180. If you did like this, I'm relatively new over here on YouTube. I've been here a while. I haven't done an awful lot with the YouTube channel. So I'm still at the stage where if you've got comments, I read everyone. If you've got a YouTube video you'd like to see me do, I definitely looking for new ideas about what to do over here on YouTube. Most of my world is very extensive over in Twitch, so that's where I am at the moment. Next year in 2025, one of the things that I wanted to start thinking about doing was what the multi-streaming that other people are now free to do with Twitch and YouTube, so that might be coming down the road too. I don't know, got to see what happens when we get into next year. But let's see. If you did like what you saw, I do hope you'll come over and spend some time with us on Twitch. If you really liked it, the best way to support this is do a subscription on Twitch. There's also the Ko-fi link below too. This is how it is that I keep my lights on and how I keep the bills paid, so any help would be appreciated. If you're wondering what the spy part is about 757 Spy, I did write a couple of spy novels, links below on that one. And the 757 that's been pretty much my favorite jetliner of all the other jets. Okay, we're slowly catching up with our descent. Our speed is good, pretty good. We're a touch high, but that's okay. Let's get our speed under control. I'm going to reduce my rate of descent now to about 2,000 feet per minute. That should help us start slowing it down even more. We've still got speed brakes out, so that looks good. And if you want to see how we're doing over here on Navigraph, okay, I probably overcompensated for the wind there. So let's split the difference and let's call it 263 on the turn, and that'll keep us going there. This is where we were hoping to be able to intercept. We're a touch high and a touch fast, so we'll just keep going. Let's hit the LS button right now. LS is set. Can't arm the speed brakes. We're using them on our descent right now, but we do have glide slope and localizer. We're starting to slow down our speed just a bit too. Got about 5,000 feet to go. I'm going to reduce my rate of descent even more, and that should be good for us to get even slower, which we want to be. And are we starting to slow? Oh, good. Good airplane. We're starting to slow down a bit. That looks really good. As we get close to 180, we'll throw out some more flaps, put speed brakes away, and that'll be good news. And this is looking great too. And how about that? Flaps 2. There's flaps 2. Speed brakes away. Let's go and arm speed brakes for landing. That looks good. How are the lights here? Landing lights. Nose light. The cabin's secured, but we will do cabin call. Ding dong. Flight crew, cabin crew seats for landing. We could actually go to flaps 3 right now. There's flaps 3. I'm going to do landing gear a little bit early. This is a big airplane. Why are you upset? Am I too fast for gear? Landing gear not down. Well, gear's down. Oh, it was that flaps 3, it wanted gear. I should have done it the other direction. And that looks good. There's 9,000 feet there. If we turn on constraints, it should show 5,000 feet there. That looks really good. We're at 180 knots. That's nice too. We'll just keep going in this general direction. How about 261 degrees? ECAM checklist just has popped up there. Seat belts are on. Landing gear is down. Ground spoilers are armed. Flaps are not set to landing yet, but that's okay. The BTV system is set up for our auto braking, which should stop us at our high-speed exit. And as we are coming down to 5,000 feet, let's do altimeter 1029. So 1029. And let's set the backup altimeter because we're good pilots. And we set up our backup 1029. There's 8,000 feet. Looking pretty good there. ATC called and just said turn south 180 degrees. So turning south to 180 degrees. 180. Almost there. There is 189, 86, 180 degrees. There we go. So now we're going to head south. Let's go and make the map one click bigger, and we're looking good there. There's the 7 mile turn, turn, turn. Hey, look at that. We're catching up with the glide slope. That's pretty nice. And take a second to look outside the airplane and see, wow, has it gotten dark. 'Tis the season where it starts to get darker here in the northern hemisphere sooner. And ATC is called and said continue your turn, heading 110 degrees. There's 112. There is 110 degrees. And that was my speed. I don't want to do that. Whoopsie. No, 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 no. I was going to say, that was bad. Flaps are full. No, 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 no. You're going too slow. We're all going to die. Okay, 150. Let's do the turn here. I got confused. It's been known to happen, but you know what? If you can spot it like that and save yourself, let's also reduce our rate of descent now to about 1,000 feet per minute. That will be nice. Continue the turn to 110. That looks really good. Let's add some more speed. Oh boy, that was almost a problem. We almost fell out of the sky. And there is 110 degrees. We've got glide slope, we got localizer, arm the approach. Here comes the approach, and it's almost perfect. There comes the localizer. We are coming up on 5,000 feet. Speed for landing, VAP is going to be 135. We'll continue at 170 for just a few. Gear down is 3 green, right? Well, actually, no. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 green. Gear down 5 green, not 3 green. Coming up, that looks good too. Come over here. We're going to go to EDDM taxi. And here is our taxi chart. And let's make it dark. There we go. And that looks good too. We're going to hope for Alpha 10 and then start to wrap things up during the taxi on in. So again, thank you so much for watching. This is usually when I try and start saying all of those YouTuber things. But thank you for being here. I hope that you found this fun and a little informative, and it helps you get your airplane up off the ground, into cruise, and down on the ground without having pixels scattered all over the runway. The flight sim is absolutely amazing. As of the time of recording this video, we are literally 3 weeks, I think, away from Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. This truly is an exciting time to be in this world. The airplanes that we have are amazing. The scenery is amazing. And if you're new to all of this, if you're looking for a nice community of people to hang out with, I will tell you that flight simmers are pretty cool. Very few of them are ultra toxic and all of that, so that's one of the positives. Okay, get your chair ready to go, because we're going to actually fly the airplane with a stick and rudder pedals and stuff like that on our final approach. We've got glide slope, and that looks good. And we are now 10-mile finals. Usually here on VATSIM Germany is going to say 180 knots until about 5 miles from the runway. That's to keep the traffic rolling. But I've got the chair position so I can hit my joystick and throttles and rudder pedals. If you're wondering about the stuff here in the cabin, I do have a video here on YouTube, and it's a behind-the-scenes look at all the controllers that I use. Here comes our runway at 7 miles. We are exiting right, and at this point
2,500.
we look over here and we see there we are over there. That looks good. And if you want a moving map over here, then we can go grab the airport chart, or just turn off all the charts here and zoom this map all the way in, and that's going to give you an absolutely outstanding ground chart. I've got the airport, I've got the runway, that looks really good. ECAM checklist just reappeared on the screen. All of our items are green, so that means we're good to go for landing. Here comes the runway, and we are 6 miles from the airport. And so the only thing for us to do is press the manage speed button. Everything's good and set up here. So we'll do manage speed in just a second. And there is 5, 4, 3, 2. There we go. Let's do manage speed. There's manage speed to land. Flaps are already set, and this is our landing speed. No shame again at using the autopilot at this point in the flight. Yeah, a lot of people are going to say, oh no, we got the autopilot off right now. But if you're juggling frequencies on VATSIM, have a few things to set up, then by all means, let the autopilot do the work for you until you're on the tower frequency. If there's ground, you've got ground control already set up as your standby frequency, so that you can concentrate on your landing. Speed's good. I think the airplane autopilot's had enough fun. AP is off. Captain's got the airplane.
1,000.
No, no, no. There's no need to panic. You don't need to call your attorney. You don't need to call for, you know, whatever religious types of arrangements you think might be made. We're going to have a great landing. No need to, no, you don't need to call the fire department. It's going to be okay. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, this is not going to be dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. We did get a little bit of a breeze blowing us off, but not much. We're still on our glide slope, looking pretty good. Munchen is looking very nice tonight. Everybody's going to meet over at the Airbrow Brewery here at the airport, where they actually brew the beer here at the airport. Slowly but surely we're coming on down. And yep, I just called you Shirley.
100 above.
A little low.
Minimum.
Landing. Is it raining here? No, it's foggy here, that's why. Little
50,
off to the side.
40, 30, 20, retard, 10, 5.
Looking good. I added a little bit of reverse thrust.
Auto brake off.
And look at that. I think this is the Alpha 10. This is our taxi. There was one more high speed. We wanted this one. So BTV worked like a charm. Really one of those cool things about this airplane. Strobes going off. And welcome to Munchen. And everything looks good there. Speed brakes down. Flaps going up. We got a tight turnaround here. There's the terminal. I think we made it. So welcome on in. I hope that, again, I hope that this was fun. These are amazing airplanes, and we really do. We've got some absolutely amazing airplanes to be flying around with these days. So I hope that you found your favorite airplane. We've also got the new Max out there that is really pretty cool and a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and grab this next one. Whoa! We overturned a little bit. Can we make this? Oh, sure, we can make this. Let's grab this one. Let's do a tight turnaround there. Flaps are going up. Like I said, ground control is a little bit dodgy for me on this right now, and I think that that's because I'm either I think my control settings are a little bit too sensitive, and I need to make them a little less sensitive. So we'll see how that works. And I can show you what they are. I actually grabbed a screen grab of my sensitivity settings, and my sensitivities for especially this one over here. You can see, okay, thank you. Joystick L axis, that's the nose wheel tiller, it's -39. I almost think I need to turn that down. As far as elevators and aileron, I think that that's good. But again, the nose wheel tiller could probably use just a little bit of work. Okay, let's see. Flaps are up, speed brakes are down. That all looks good. We're going to be nice to our next crew and hit the rudder reset button for the next departure. And this looks good. Come on and get our map over here. There's the airplane. We're going to look for Alpha 9. That's the first one. We're going to go for the next one. And really, the scenery here at Munich is really pretty amazing. And what's blowing me away is just how smooth the airplane is. Now, I think that if we had an awful lot of traffic from like VATSIM and stuff, probably would be a little bit more, you know, a lot of scenery hesitations and stuff like that. And in we go here. We'll head over the bridge and into the gate we go. But like I said, you know, some of the bridges and roadways around here, I think it's on the other side, are really quite amazing. Yeah, the bridges are over on the other side there. But here we go. We made it. I see what looks like perhaps a little bit of moisture out there. So maybe we do have some moisture. I bet we stay on the center taxiway with the big plane like this. Well, maybe not. I don't know how they would do that here. You actually have 3 in the middle of all of this. And then you're going to look for one of these gates that has a dual set of jetways. So how about this one right here? And in we go. Okay, I see we got a line over there. Do we have another one? I can't imagine it's this one. Look over here. Yeah, we've got 2. I'm not sure what we would use on this one for this big jet. I'd imagine we'd want to come straight in that. I don't think it's that one right there, though. That one doesn't make sense. Especially for this. So we got 2 things here. I'm just kind of coming in the middle. And that looks good. You can see they would also probably have to shut everything down on either side of this big old plane. That's probably about as good as this is going to get. So parking brakes, I have neglected to turn on the APU. But the cool news is the APU on this airplane starts pretty good. So flaps moving. That's the little flap in the back of the airplane for air intake into the APU. And this is looking good here too. APU's coming up. And like I said, it takes about a minute or so for this thing to go. Clear info. So they want you to initialize the weights in the CG. That's for the next flight. So they're already getting you ready over here on this for your next flight. And this is kind of coming up. We'll look at the generators and see how that's working. Let's see. While we're at it, I should have turned off the nose light because we're blinding the ground crew. Let's see. We would also turn off devices. Let people start using their cell phones. And you usually do that when you get off the runway. We could turn the squawk to standby and stop squawking. That looks pretty good too. And the APU is now up and running, so we'll turn on the bleed. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And usually when that happens, sometimes it'll go out and get you a jetway. Let's see if it's going to get us a jetway. I don't see any of them moving. Let's come on up here, and we'll turn off the beacon. Maybe we need to come over here to this page. Let's get some ground power going. Let's call a jet bridge, and we'll call a cargo door and a baggage truck. And there we go. Okay, it looks like we're going to go and get the front door here. Again, Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't do the double jetways. There comes our power card. Here comes baggage. We made it. So thank you for flying. Again, I really do hope that this is something that worked out, that you enjoyed the flight, and this helps you get your airplane to go. I hope you'll join us over on the Spy Flight on Twitch. In the meantime, as always, please stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you in the friendly sim skies again soon. Cheers, bye, and thanks for watching.